Ain't no love lost, I just move how I move. Jocking for position, I'm fighting ill too. Whoa, I got these niggas rattled, got these bitches so loose. Tell them on the tone while she blow on my flute. I got biggie dreams, give me the loot. Don't put no ceiling on me, I'ma shoot through the roof. Every day I wake up, I'm tryna blow it down. The speakers knocking, weed hitting while I move through the town. Discover what it's like to say fuck it. You can look me in my eyes and you know I'm up to something. Took a little minute, but I like who I'm becoming. Focused on getting mine, I swear that's all that's on my mind. My niggas ain't no ushers, they gon' let that bitch burn. Why you smoke so much? Because this life shit absurd. Really flexible as hell, she do yoga at the gym. Go ahead and grab your ankles, girl, let me see your bed. Let me see just what you worth, how much I'ma spend. Can't stop until my heart do shit, I'm here to the end. These niggas thinking like some locals, but I'm thinking like a mogul. You can hate me for a lot of shit, now all my acts been noble. Time is money, niggas, so I'm staying up late. No chlorine, but my eyes look like Republican states. Ain't no love lost, I just move how I move. You can look me in my eyes and you know I'm up to something. Ain't no fucking yes man, feel like Kyrie, ain't no puppet. Like the heavens need an angel just for stunting. Yeah, you know it's always a vibe when some real ones collide. Gotta keep some people around who know how to survive. Hustling like a nigga just arrived. Around the clock a nigga losing sense of time. I done been through some shit. Yeah, I've been through some shit, but I can do it for what it's worth. Can't show no love if the respect don't come first. Can't pay no mind. Look me in my eyes and you know I'm up to something. Ain't no love lost, I just move how I move.
All right, it is now 11:30. Like I said in the past, like the day I'd be able to move to the West Coast where these games end up being over a little bit earlier is a dream. We just coming off of the Sunday night football game between the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens, AFC North rivalry. Nothing short but spectacular. Like I gotta say, it was definitely a lower scoring game than what I thought it was going to be. Because I got to give the Cincinnati Bengals a lot of credit. I really wasn't expecting them to be able to hold the Baltimore Ravens offense to just 19 points. But they was able to do that. So I'm going to have to give them a little bit more credit where credit is due. I was also expecting the Cincinnati Bengals to be able to match up with them where we're looking at maybe 30 plus points for each team. But it didn't end up turning to be that way. When you look at it, Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals offensively, I'm still not sold on them. Like, even though they got the win last week versus the Dolphins, I just feel like there's way too much talent on the Cincinnati Bengals offense where these receivers are just not going off in these secondaries. Like when we look at tonight's box score, Hayden Hurst was the leading receiver tonight with 6 catches and 53 yards. Jamar Chase was next up with 7 catches, 50 yards. And then Tyler Boyd had 3 catches for 32. And T. Higgins, he didn't even have a catch. So I'm like these receivers are way too talented for them not to get, for the Cincinnati Bengals not to get these guys involved and for them to be able to put up at least 24 points a game. But this game came down to the wire. The Cincinnati Bengals ended up having a late touchdown in the fourth quarter, and it came down to the 2-minute warning, and the Baltimore Ravens ended up going down the field with ease, running the football with the read option with Lamar Jackson, and Justin Tucker ends up nailing a 43-yard field goal. Like, I'm not a Baltimore Ravens fan, but I'm pretty sure like Baltimore Ravens fans are like, when Justin Tucker comes up on the field, they're like literally like expecting him not to miss a field goal. Like it just seems like that is just automatic. Like there's no ice in this dude. Like he literally is the legit best kicker that I've probably ever seen in my life outside of probably Adam Vinatieri. He does not miss. Like you don't sweat at all when this man hits the field. Like this man lives for the moment. Really lives for the moment. But the Cincinnati Bengals fall to 2-3, while the Baltimore Ravens end up going up to 3-2. I wanted to go ahead and go over this concussion protocol because I feel like this is going to be like an excellent segue into the Miami Dolphins game. So I want to say it probably was like maybe 48 hours ago. They tampered with the new concussion protocol due to the Tua concussion, back-to-back concussions in less than a couple of days. Obviously 2 weeks ago versus the Buffalo Bills, it looked to be a concussion, and he was able to come back into the game. And then, of course, the Thursday night game that led up to last week, with the Cincinnati Bengals, he ended up having another concussion. It looked like another concussion, well, 2 Sundays ago, it wasn't one. The NFL did their investigation. They sat down and had an interview with Tua. It just turned out to be a serious back injury. And then I'm getting it backwards. It was a back injury that Bengals game. I'm getting the two mixed up, but it was a back injury on one of these games. I got it all mixed up. But anyway, the new concussion protocol. So the changes to it. If any player is diagnosed with ataxia, which abnormally balanced ability, motor coordination, or dysfunctional speech caused by neurological issues, will be prohibited from returning to the game and will receive the follow-up care required by the concussion protocol. And the reason why I said this is the perfect segue was because what happened in the Miami Dolphins game on the first drive. Backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater ends up getting knocked on his head, and first thing happened was my man is out for the rest of the game due to concussion protocol. I feel like this had to happen. Like, we're going to go ahead and call this the Tua rule now. It's the Tua rule. Like, this put this whole concussion protocol thing under the microscope. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it happened 2 times today at the top of my head. Like, it happened with Chris Olave in the Saints game. And like I said, it happened with Teddy Bridgewater, not even a drive in. And he just ended up going to get off the field. But they're trying to make a statement here. Like, we messed up. We're going to try and make it right. So anybody that looks like they may have bounced their head off the turf, or they just stumble getting up, they're just gonna end up taking them out the game. Just literally taking them out the game because they don't want to take any more risks with this. Like, I feel like at this point, you ran out of chances. You literally ran out of chances. The NFL ran out of chances at this point. Like, this is something that needs to be taken serious moving forward in the NFL football period. Like, there is no, I'm good, I'm just a little shaken up. No, you bounce your head off the turf, you seem a little bit wobbly, you're done. You're going to sit down. And it's going to upset a lot of players because, look, football players, sports players in general, they're very, very competitive. That's what they want to do. Like, they're willing to play through injury, but player safety is more important. Like, these type of things, concussions, multiple concussions. I'm not exactly sure how many you can actually have. I'm not a doctor in a career, but when they start to add up, like, it can be life threatening. So it's about that time for them to get it right. Like, I told the story last week. The first time I saw a concussion, I'm like, yo, like, this is serious. Like, I don't even think I want my kids to play. And I'm kind of happy that I didn't get that deep into playing contact football like that. Like, I was ineligible. Well, my freshman year, it was a brand new school, so I didn't get a chance to make it to the meeting for being able to play football for a freshman. So then my sophomore year, I didn't play. My junior year, I didn't play because I broke my clavicle playing street football outside. And then finally I got to play my senior year and I got to experience it. But I played a lot of street ball growing up. Like, I remember one in particular it was a fumble, and some dude was wearing Timberland boots and like kicked me upside the head. And yeah, to be honest with you, I really think that might have been a concussion. Like, like I was like woozy after that. But anyway, like the concussions are like very, very serious. Like at this point, you cannot take these lightly. But let's go ahead and get into this Miami Dolphins and New York Jets game. I want to say though, like it's, you know what? I'm not even surprised anymore. Like, I took the New York Jets to be the underdog. They were the underdog. I took the New York Jets, and when I posted up that preview video, like, you wouldn't believe how many dislikes I had on that video. Like, I want to say it was probably like, what, maybe 50 dislikes for a 2-minute video. And I want to shout out Widow 2K, because my man, like, literally left a tweet on my page, and literally, like, at this point, like, what I'm going through, like, it literally means a lot, because, like, we gained a follower, and it turned out to be a Buffalo Bills fan. Of all the teams to like, the Buffalo Bills, no disrespect, but like, you get more support from a Buffalo Bills fan than you get from your own fan base. If I'm keeping it 100, and like, one of the biggest issues that I've had over the years, as far as the Miami Dolphins fan base, is the fact that they don't call a spade a spade. Like, they literally always making excuses, and I kind of like took a step back because of the fact that it kind of gets personal with the Miami Dolphins fans nowadays. Like, back in the day when I really don't even like taking credit for this, but when I began making Dolphins videos where it really wasn't that many content creators out there, like, we were like very, very optimistic. It was everybody voiced their opinion, and then everybody respected their opinion. Nowadays, it's like everybody got an opinion, and if you're not with that opinion, then it's a problem. And you know where I'm going with this whole Tua situation. Yes, the Miami Dolphins did turn out and lose this game today versus the New York Jets. Tua was not in there as the quarterback, but best believe, like, I'm going to give you an example, and I hate having to do this. Like, when Josh Rosen and Ryan Fitzpatrick were the quarterback, when quarterbacks for the Dolphins, like, no, everybody was making complaints about the quarterback position and not looking at the offensive line and the lack of the offensive line in general, and then the running backs were somewhat suspect at the time. But the second Tua ended up getting into the starting lineup, the issue was everybody else but Tua. And that's what I mean by calling a spade a spade. Like, that's literally my biggest pet peeve with the Miami Dolphins fan base. That's something I just can't get behind. But so, I'm gonna tell you like it is. If the Dolphins suck, the Dolphins suck. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Tua threw a pick. He's the reason why we lost. That's just what it is. It's not the Dolphins lose. I have this, like, the first time I've ever seen this ever in my life, where the quarterback, which is the most important position on the field, takes less of the blame than anybody else on the team, and it's the fans. And I don't want to exclude myself from it, because the Dolphins is my squad, like, literally. But I can't be a part of that. Like, I'm gonna tell you what it is, 1,000%. But yeah, I just want to go ahead and touch bases on that before we get into this preview, before we get into this recap, because of the fact, like, damn, like, why a Buffalo Bills fan gotta go ahead and give you a comment, which I respect 1,000%. I appreciate you most definitely. Why he gotta do that? But I can't even get it from my own fan base. Where has the Miami Dolphins love gone? Like, it's just crazy to me. I can't get behind it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to this Dolphins game. Like, I think we said in the preview, it was going to be a totally different Miami Dolphins defense that we're going to sit down and look at against the New York Jets, considering the fact that Xavier Howard was day-to-day at the time. We didn't know if he was going to play. Unfortunately, he didn't play. So we ended up having to deal with a whole bunch of two undrafted free agents, and we had Noah Benogany contribute a little bit. But The Dolphins had a hard time moving the ball. We ended up losing Teron Armstead early in the game. We already out Austin Jackson. I believe Tyreek Hill, he left sometime later in the game. But those were definitely the issues. We were able to run the ball. Raheem Mostert had a phenomenal day on the ground with 18 carries and 113 yards. But when it's all said and done, the turnovers, that's just what it is. Skylar Thompson ended up throwing an interception, and then he had a late fumble towards the end of the game. And the Dolphins had a very, very hard time, like, stopping Breece Hall. Like, he was a problem. Like, Breece Hall, 18 carries, 97 yards, and had 2 catches for 100 yards. One in particular in the first half, he had like a wheel route that he ran, and he was left wide open. And closest defender in position to possibly place the blame on is Eric Rowe. So I didn't exactly look at the film yet, but I'm just going off of what I seen at that time. So that's like, again, when you don't have your 2 Pro Bowl corners out on the field, like, we're going to struggle. And a lot of people are complaining about Josh Boyer, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. Like, what do you expect him to do? Like, it's been the same thing since Brian Flores has been in there. When we don't have Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, you see a totally different defense. People are going to come out here and say, oh my goodness, we lost to the Jets because of injury. Like, we can't sit here and make excuses. We came into this game, like, we put the best 11 on the field. Got to give the New York Jets their credit. They're not going to be a slouch anymore. The New York Jets are not a slouch. They are a talented team. Like, we gotta treat them with respect. I believe this snaps a 4-game losing streak for the New York Jets against the Miami Dolphins, and it's like a 12. The Jets were on like a 12-game losing streak against all AFC East teams. So it's a big win for the New York Jets. Breece Hall is doing this thing. I will give credit where credit is due to Elijah Vera Tucker playing multiple offensive lineman positions. I am paying attention to stuff like that. But yeah, it was a good win. It was a good win for the New York Jets, and the Dolphins are now sitting at 3-2 after starting off 3-0. They're currently sitting in second place behind the Buffalo Bills. I feel like the Dolphins is going to continue to free fall at this point, depending on what the status of Tua is. Like I told you before, I don't think he needs to be playing for the remainder of the season due to the severity of his injury. But we'll see, though. We'll definitely see. Now, I wanted to peel this thing back just for a brief moment because we need to talk about this Thursday night game. Like, usually I end up doing something that Thursday night, and I didn't do it because of the fact that I ended up getting week 4's recap video out late. So it delayed everything else for the remainder of the week. But let's just go ahead and just talk about this game. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. 3 field goals were kicked in the first half. Like, I know a lot of people are complaining about who chooses these Thursday night games. Like, literally, who chooses these Thursday night games? Because this is probably the biggest snooze fest that we've ever seen in our lives. Like literally, like, if I'm gonna have to stop laying in my bed when I be watching these Thursday night games because, like, games like that literally is like Snoozeville, puts you to sleep. But you would think, like, when they came out with the schedule, new quarterback, new place, Russell Wilson with the Denver Broncos, Matt Ryan with the Indianapolis Colts, 2 teams it comes down to that was a quarterback away from being a legit Super Bowl contender. We're expecting something phenomenal, and we were subjected to a 12-9 final score. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get into the Colts real fast. I just want to say, it's the offensive line for the Colts is a big, huge concern. Like, I literally, like, every time Matt Ryan drops back to pass, he's always getting hit. And like I said, the fumbles play into a factor with Matt Ryan. I believe when last time I checked, he had like 7 fumbles so far this season. And on the flip side, when we turn around, we look at the Denver Broncos offense, it's Russell Wilson. We talked about it before the game. I don't think Russell feels comfortable sitting under center, dropping back, doing these 4 to 5 step drops, 3 to 5 step drops. Don't think he's comfortable. Showed on the goal line where Richard Sherman made a point, should have ran the ball. I don't even think he's going to ever let that down. Which who wouldn't let that down? Like literally, using the Super Bowl, you could have just headed the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. You would think you would learn your lesson by now, Russell. But yeah, he ended up missing KJ Hamler for a while up a touchdown pass, and it was a slant route if I'm not mistaken. And he took responsibility for it. But those are the things, like, it's been going on so far every game this year where he hasn't been comfortable. I believe there was a report out there that he's dealing with an injury, and that's why it's preventing him from properly reading the defense. Like, I don't know, maybe like he just needs to go back to that schoolyard bullshit type of offense where he's sitting back in the shotgun and scrambling around and doing all this extra shit, spinning off defenders, and then like when the play is broken, ends up hitting a wide open receiver. I don't see how you can do offense on a consistent basis like that, but it seemed to have been getting it done in Seattle. So I don't know. At this point, I don't know what to do with Russell. Like, you literally led the horse to the water. Like, you just got to drink it. Like, just drive the car. And you think about it, like, you should have kept Drew Lock. Yeah, for the Denver Broncos, you should have kept Drew Lock. Or if you're the Indianapolis Colts, sorry to say, it's looking like you should have kept Carson Wentz. But anyway, I just had to go ahead and get that off my chest real quick because, like, that was just eating at me. Like, he was legitimately eating at me. Let's go ahead and go to this international game where it's the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. Final score was 27-22. When I sit down and make my bets, right, I only spend $20. Call me cheap if you want. I spend $20. $5 go to the 1 o'clock games. I do one big parlay. Another $5 goes to the 4 o'clock games. And then another $5 goes to the primetime games. And then the last $5, $5. So for the last $5, it goes to the sure thing bets, which what I mean by sure thing bets is all the games that literally look like a sure thing, like it's almost impossible for this to happen. And the Green Bay Packers was literally one of those games that was supposed to be a clear walk away. Boy, was I wrong. The second, I'm like, all right, it looked like the Green Bay Packers got this in the bag. It's 10-3 at the end of the first quarter. Then the New York Giants, they tied the ball game up in the second quarter. Then the New York Giants scored 3 points. Then the New York Giants scored another 14 in the fourth quarter, and the Green Bay Packers ain't answer. Well, one thing I will say, because I'm going to be regretting a lot of things that I did say the last couple of weeks, was the New York Giants defense is actually looking pretty legit, or the Green Bay Packers offense is not that good. And I feel like the Green Bay Packers got away from running with the ball. Like 13 carries for 63 yards for Aaron Jones, 6 carries for 34 yards for A.J. Dillon. Like, we got to get this ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hand at this point. I was watching a reel earlier today. Excuse me. And it was last week's game against the New England Patriots. And he motioned one of the tight ends over. No, one of the tight ends motioned over, and then Aaron Rodgers, you could hear him on the mic. He said, "Get the fuck back over there." And back over to the side he was on. And, like, you just got to be thinking, like, it's just a whole bunch of new faces out there. Like, Allen Lazard clearly has been there for a while, but, and Randall Cobb, he just made his return back. But at this point, we counting the days for Randall Cobb. He's a little seasoned at this point. So you're just sitting with, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Like, and Mercedes Lewis, the tight end, he's not really a receiving tight end. I wouldn't turn over in the bed for him. And then, of course, Robert Tonyan, he's coming off of a knee injury. But these guys are these guys are legitimately having issues separating, and I feel for Aaron Rodgers because of the fact like he can't make anything happen. That's why we talked about this for 2 weeks in a row now. They gotta run the ball. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are on the field almost every single play, and they're running a lot of two back split sets. They gotta get it done. They got to get it on the ground. I just feel like that's just how they're going to win football games moving forward. But on the flip side, when I look at Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, they shocked the hell out of me. Like Daniel Jones, especially, like 21 for 27 for 217. Like he was actually throwing the ball today. And I was like, this is impossible. Like they was having issues moving the ball. Saquon Barkley was their bread and butter, but if they can somehow keep on running the ball with Saquon Barkley, have him do his thing and set up the play action, they can win some games. They could literally win some games. And I was expecting the Green Bay Packers to come out and be able to exploit Evan Neal a little bit, the offensive tackle, because he's been struggling for so much this year. But they was only able to sack the New York Giants one time. The pressure was not there. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. Like that was one of my sure bets that like literally bothers me. Like Aaron Jones is one of my fantasy players on my team. That bothers me. Like I just cannot, like it's just a bad year for fantasy for running backs. Like I can never get a 20-point game by any of my running backs. And I have some of the top running backs. I literally have some of the top running backs, and I can't get what I need to get. Next game, which I feel like we don't even need to elaborate on this game. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills murdered the Steelers 38-3. And I feel like we don't need to elaborate it because the score tells the whole story. I know Kenny Pickett ended up making his first start this week. I felt like it shouldn't have been his first start considering the fact that it was a juggernaut of a team of the Buffalo Bills and the offensive line issues, your inability to run the football. Like these are big, huge concerns for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they was talking about this is the biggest loss since like 1983 or something. Like, it can't get no worse for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it comes back down to what? The head coach, Mike Tomlin. What are you going to do? How are you going to turn this thing around? And one of the answers that he had, we're going to go ahead and make some personnel changes as far as the coaching. Okay, we can go ahead and do that all you want. But at the end of the day, hey, this is your ship. Correct it. You like, I get it. You have never had a losing season, but you're free falling right now where you're going to be getting one of your first ones. Next week, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How are you going to get yourself out of that one? But I'm going to keep on riding this train. I'm not a believer in Mike Tomlin. I never was. He inherited a very, very good team, a Super Bowl winning team in the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 2006. You came out and you won your first Super Bowl with a Bill Cowher team. You have been somewhat mediocre defensively over the years. Without TJ Watt, you're not a good football team. You knew offensive line was an issue and it hasn't been addressed. Really, the only one thing that has been consistent for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the years has been the receivers. Like they've always been able to produce some wonderful receivers. But outside of that, like Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, I'm sorry. Like I'm gonna keep on riding this because I feel like the franchise quarterback is key. Like I feel like I'm starting to give Ben Roethlisberger a lot more credit for this franchise than I'm probably supposed to, but it shows. It shows. Like the leadership is not there. Like the Buffalo Bills went the fuck off. 20 for 31, 424 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Josh Allen had. He had 280 at halftime. Like they murdered the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh Steelers, if this comes off a little bit harsh, but they murdered you. They murdered you. Like Gabe Davis, 3 catches, 171 yards. Stephon Diggs, 8 catches, 102 yards. Khalil Shakir, 3 catches for 75 yards. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm legitimately sorry. The Los Angeles Chargers end up taking the dub against the Cleveland Browns. I will say with this game, I feel like the head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers, he legitimately, I felt like he was trying to sell this game. Literally try to sell this game. And I say that because there was a point in the fourth quarter, the 2-minute warning, they ran a running play to the left to Austin Eckler, and they didn't get the first down, so that made it 4th down and 1. So they decided to go for it with 1 minute and 14 seconds left, where they were clearly in somewhat a field goal range, and they did not complete the pass, which put the Cleveland Browns in a wonderful situation to possibly, put them in wonderful field position to possibly kick the field goal. So that put the Jacoby Brissett and the Cleveland Browns at the 45-yard line with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. And Jacoby Brissett threw a pass to Amari Cooper, if I'm not mistaken. It was a pickup of 10. And then what happened? Okay, so then it ended up coming down to, they ran the ball to get themselves a little bit further in field goal range, and then they didn't get anything. And then, of course, it came down to them kicking it was a 54-yard field goal, and it was no good, which, but again, Brandon Staley, that's the head coach's name. Brandon Staley, like, you had a big, huge break in this game where you had a questionable call where either you was going to kick the field goal or pin the Cleveland Browns back, but you decided to go for it on 4th and 1, where if you didn't get it, you would put the Cleveland Browns in wonderful field position for them to go ahead and kick the go-ahead field goal to win the game. Talk about lucky. Oh, boy. Where we want to go to next? What was another good game? Another almost guaranteed. Like, I know, like, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago and the Houston Texans. That was another game. That was a big, huge disappointment. I'm thinking the Jacksonville Jaguars are gonna go off. Like, they were one of my teams where I was like, you know what? They're gonna come out this year and they're gonna have a good record. Like, they're gonna surprise some people. They're gonna do some things with Trevor Lawrence, with Doug Peterson coming in as the new head coach. He's gonna put Trevor Lawrence in the right situations for him to win. We got 2 good running backs in Travis Etienne and James Robinson. Like, the receiving core is pretty straight. Like, the defense, we're working on the defense, but that front 7 is legit. Like, I'm thinking that's what we're going to get at the Jaguars. But that didn't end up being the case. Like, they cannot move the ball. Like, it was just horrific, this game. And the Houston Texans ended up coming away with this dub 13-6. But I want to give credit where credit is due, and I became a big fan. Dameon Pierce is that dude. Like, literally that dude. Like, when it came down to that fourth quarter and he wanted it. Like, he literally wanted that dub. That's how bad he wanted it. And you could tell that there was this one particular play where he broke like 7 or 8 tackles. I was like, yo, this is about to be the second coming of that one play with Marshawn Lynch back in the day in that playoff game versus the Seahawks, with the Seahawks and the Saints, and he was breaking all them tackles, and everybody was trying to do some commentary on, like, get off me and all this other stuff. But that's what Dameon Pierce is looking like. That joke is looking like that. Dameon Pierce is gonna be a nice back. That dude gonna be a very nice back in the near future. Like, just continue to do your thing, Dameon Pierce, because I'm watching you. I'm literally watching you. So next up, we got the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Final score ended up being the Chicago Bears 22 and Minnesota Vikings 29. This game, I literally thought considering how the Chicago Bears have been playing so far this season, they're unable to move the ball. But today, they showed some signs of life. Justin Fields was 15 for 21 for 208 and a touchdown. And I had Darnell Mooney on my fantasy team, and I had to cut him because he was literally taking up too much space on my roster. He had to get cut. Last week, he had like 2 catches for 90-something yards. This week, he had 2 catches for 52, but he had a nice one-hander. Like, that mug was nice. Like, that's almost like on the level of that Brandon Lloyd catch back in the day with the 49ers. Like, I know probably at the top of the list is probably that Odell Beckham catch because it was on Sunday Night Football against the Giants. It was a pass interference against the Cowboys. It was a pass interference call on the defensive back for the Cowboys. He's reaching back, getting the jump. Like, but that Darnell Mooney jump, like, for real, like, that jump was nice. That joint was nice, and I don't like to compare it to. I don't like it to compare it to that one because I felt like that Brandon Lloyd one was a little bit more equivalent to it. But at the time, right now, it's still the Odell Beckham catch that still takes the cake for me. Like, that was the best catch that I've ever seen, one of the best catches I've ever seen. But yeah, today, oh yeah. Back to the fantasy real quick. I have Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery on my team, right? And they said they've had David Montgomery is questionable for the whole week, and I'm thinking they're gonna ease him back in. They're gonna spoon feed him. They're gonna, he gonna spell Khalil Herbert a little bit, and then it's gonna be majority Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert had 4 carries for 11 yards, while David Montgomery had his 12 and only 20. And I'm like, yo, like, are you serious? I left Khalil Herbert on the bench, and I left David Montgomery on the bench, and I was playing Khalil Herbert, and like literally, man, I'm just so done with fantasy, and I'm so done with gambling right now because like it's just not been a good NFL season for me when it comes down to those two things. Like, I am miserably failing. I'm on a 3-game losing streak on my fantasy team. I have a very, very embarrassing point score that I had this week. I have like 50 point score where the guy I'm playing right now dropped 160. Like, it's awful right now. But the Minnesota Vikings end up coming on with the final score of 29-22, taking it over their NFC North rival, the Chicago Bears. Now, next game is the Detroit Lions at the New England Patriots. Another game. Like, I know the Lions were the underdog in this game. I took the Lions. I was a fool to take the Lions, especially when the New England Patriots were at home. But I felt like the matchup was good. Like, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, T.J. Hockenson coming in. Like, I felt like they would have been able to take advantage of this secondary of the New England Patriots, but that didn't end up being the case. They held to a big old goose egg, and they was managing the game well with Bailey Zapp. I totally saw a totally different guy this week than it was last week. Like, he wasn't asked to do too much, just don't screw the game up. And we relied heavily on Ramondre Stevenson with 25 carries and 161 yards, averaging 6.4 yards a carry. So they're riding out, running the game hard, and then we're not asking Bailey Zapp to do too much. Very, very impressive win for the New England Patriots, considering how they came off of a game last week where they lost in overtime. But my game of the day was the Seahawks and the New Orleans Saints. Final score was 32-39 New Orleans Saints. Like, this game was the best game today, honestly. Like, it was a back and forth thing. Like, I will say the New Orleans Saints, they came out clicking in the first half, scoring 17 points. Like, the biggest knock on them so far is like we're missing Sean Payton. The offense creativity is not there anymore. Like, we're missing Sean Payton. We can't move the ball. Like, that's what it felt like was missing. And this game, this game, he was able to find a spark with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill had 3 touchdowns. He ended up having 3 rushing and threw for 1. Rushed for nine carries and 112 yards. Like, he legitimately did his thing. Alvin Kamara came back. He had 100 yards rushing. But I want to look at the Seahawks real quick. I literally want to look at the Seahawks because Geno Smith, like, that dude was balling today. Like, we talking about he was dropping dimes. Like, literally, there was two touchdown throws he threw to Tyler Lockett, which is beautiful. Just beautiful. Just dropped that joint right there in his chest, like Geno, like, you legitimately looking like that first round pick out of West Virginia right now. Like, he was literally dropping them joints, looking beautiful. And when you sit back and you and adds insult to injury, when you turn around, you look at the Denver Broncos and you see what you get out of Russell Wilson over there, and then you look at what Geno doing over here, you like, whoa, what the fuck? What's going on here? But Geno, he doing his thing. 16 for 25, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. But again, this was the game of the week. It legitimately was the game of the week where I'm like, this was a good game. This literally was a good game by the two. Like, even though they lost, it was a wonderful game. Another rivalry game with the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't even want to talk about this game because this game was way closer than I thought it was supposed to be. On the Atlanta Falcons side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, I'm looking at these guys. They're like, you didn't have Kyle Pitts. Your legitimate threat was only Drake London. Like, and it just, like, the New England Patriots, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just struggled. Like, they literally just struggled. I know Tom Brady is struggling with that arm injury, but they literally just struggled. And I'm having a hard time understanding, like, what's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, is there something? Well, obviously there is something going on, but I could only hope for the best. The Tennessee Titans at the Washington Commanders. The final score ended up being 21-17. I feel like with this game, again, it comes down to what's going on in Washington. Like, just their inability to have time to throw the football with Carson Wentz, even though the receivers De'Ami Brown had a good game today with 2 catches, 105 yards. I just felt like if the Washington Commanders want to be contenders this year, they got to do something with that offensive line quick, because it is looking like it's going to come down to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys fighting for that particular spot. Like, another dominant performance for the San Francisco 49ers versus the Carolina Panthers. Like, I really can't even say anything about that game. Like, I already knew it was lopsided. The Niners are literally one of the best teams in the league, especially that defense. Like, their front four is relentless. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, let's go ahead and get into this one, because the fourth quarter, let's go ahead and skip to the fourth quarter, shall we, where we ended up coming down to the final drive of the game. Final drive of the game for the Arizona Cardinals, where it came down to a scramble. A scramble by Kyler Murray, which was 2nd down and 10 at the Philadelphia Eagles 34-yard line with 30 seconds left. And Kyler Murray scrambled for 9 yards, and it ended up he didn't get the first down. Now, Kyler Murray, that was 2nd down. The scramble play was the 2nd down, and then Kyler Murray on 3rd down spiked the ball with a 3rd and 1, which would have made it a 4th and 1 after the spike, and it came down to kicking a field goal, and unfortunately the Arizona Cardinals didn't make the field goal, and they didn't win the game. So they lost a final score of 20-17. Like I said, the Arizona Cardinals are just not very good offensively. Their offense is vanilla at best. Like, they don't, like, I feel like the receivers, they're not what we think they are. Like Hollywood Brown is a number 2 at best. AJ Brown is literally, AJ Green is not the AJ Green of Cincinnati. Like he's like a number 4, number 5 receiver at this point. Like he's just not the same AJ. You got Rondale Moore, which I feel like he's too small. And Kyler, he's just struggling. Like he literally is just struggling. And hopefully when with DeAndre Hopkins coming back, it'll look a whole lot better. But it's just not looking good for the Arizona Cardinals. Another win for the Philadelphia Eagles, which keeps them undefeated, the only undefeated football team in the NFL right now. And the Arizona Cardinals fall to a 2-3 record. Who we got up next? Okay, so the Dallas Cowboys at the LA Rams. Gonna have to toot my hat to the Dallas Cowboys. Like that defense for the Cowboys is legit. It's literally legit, and it's keeping these Dallas Cowboys in the game. Like literally, it's keeping the Dallas Cowboys in the game, and the Dallas Cowboys offense literally just had to play complementary football. Just run the ball, and let the defense put you in situations and force a turnover, and you'll be able to be taken to the promised land. Like Tony Pollard had 8 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott had 22 carries for 78 yards. And Cooper Rush, like I said, just managed the game. 10 for 16 for 102 yards. Didn't really need to do much because that defense was just relentless on that LA Rams offense. Like on the flip side, looking at the LA Rams, like their inability to play defense. On the offensive side, offensive line issues. Like they're missing Andrew Whitworth badly. Like the offense is just totally different. It's literally totally different. Like Allen Robinson, like they don't have a guy that can stretch the field the way Odell Beckham Jr. was stretching the field. Like Tutu Atwell had a nice deep catch this game, 54 yards if I'm not mistaken. But they need to find a guy that can stretch the field, and for them to be able to set up the play action. But they just don't have that guy. Like Cooper Kupp, it's Cooper Kupp. He's that guy, but he ain't burning nobody. So, excuse me. So yeah, the Rams, they are having some serious issues. But you got to toot your hat to the Dallas Cowboys because I was not expecting them to come away with this W. So what's tomorrow? We got the Monday night game. So the Monday night game tomorrow is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think I turned around and I took the Chiefs, right? I don't have the spreads in front of me, but I went ahead and took the Chiefs. But the next pod we're going to have is going to be on Tuesday into Wednesday. So you're going to catch it on Wednesday morning. But again, be sure to go ahead and follow our social media pages, the Not For Debate podcast. I'm up out of here, man.
Nah for debate. Nah for debate. Nah. We don't care what you said. Nah for debate. Nah for debate. Nah for debate. Nah. We ain't hearing what you say. Nah for debate. Fire!